GM fam, it is Friday, April 26th, 2024. It's the first day of the rest of our lives, and we sincerely hope that it is your best day yet. For us, we know it's going to be our best day because we are gathered for a Llama Party, as we like to do on Fridays. A great chance to sit back, chill, grab a beverage, and I hope today the beverage you're enjoying is a gin and Conic because we have some representatives from Conic Finance. So initially it was announced it was just going to be OX Pims, but we've also got a bonus guest in the form of Here for Alpha Only, who you might know in crypto Twitter as Robo Odin, but I'm not going to do a very good job of introducing them. Pims, why don't you start and tell us a bit about yourself?
Hey everyone. I'm very excited to be here with you. It's fun to be on this side of the microphone. I don't want to bore the people about me, but just the usual disclosure. So Robo and I, we are both community member of Conic. We are not part of the team. We are not the devs. We are just here representing the team. So if we say anything stupid, please be mad at us, but not at Conic. And myself, I'm just a DeFi hobbyist or a DeFi obsessed person. I've been around for a little bit, but I stumbled across Conic in its infancy, and it was solving a problem I had. So I became interested because I have realized across time that usually when you have a problem and one of those projects solves it, it's probably a good idea to look into it. And here we are. I will let Robot speak for himself.
Hello, yes. Long-time listener, first-time caller. I've been in with Conic, helping out on the team not that long, but I've been around since the first airdrop. And I think Omni pools are fascinating as tech, and I just like what they've been doing.
Excellent. So just to reiterate for people who missed it, the team here are officially so Conic, the devs are completely anon. We tried to get them on for a Llama Party like a year ago, and they refused because they're super anon. They refused to voice docs. But then basically Pims reached out to me about a month or two ago saying that the devs officially appointed him as an ambassador, which means that they have diplomatic immunity. So they can't be held liable for anything that they say because they're just ambassadors.
I wish. Sounds good. Sounds good. I have the little blue passport. Perfect.
And of course, from the Leviathan side, we got DeFi Advisor joining us. So thanks for taking some time on a Friday.
Thank you, man. Always fun. Always fun. One of my favorite stream of the weeks, if not the favorite. Excited about it.
And we've had some really good streams this week, so thank you for saying that. That means a lot. If you haven't, of course, make sure to check out Leviathan. All of our live streams are available on YouTube, on Spotify. We're also streaming, of course, live right now on X. So catch us at any of those places. But let's go back in time into a little bit of history. So when I held that quote unquote written Llama Party with Conic a year ago, at the time they were super in demand. Everyone was saying Garrett, could you please get Conic on for a Llama Party? And I was pushing them and they wouldn't do it because it's back then Conic was really, really, really the thing. CurveUSD had just launched and there was not a lot to do with CurveUSD. So all of the money was flowing into the Conic Omni pool for CurveUSD. So you can see the DeFi Llama chart here. It was March of last year that they launched. And it was just up only. It was soared past 100 million. Right around here, we had our written Llama Party with them. And then the week later was that horrible, horrible exploit. So before we get too kind of far into the weeds on it, could you all talk about where were you? Because I remember very distinctly where I was when I heard about it. I had some money in Conic in the CurveUSD Omni pool. And I was in France for ETHCC. And I'd been busy the entire week and finally had a little bit of time off to not think about DeFi. So, me and my special lady friend, we were at the Louvre, which was very tough to get into. We had to wait in line a very long time. It was about 2 hours before closing when we finally got in. So we had to sprint through the entire Louvre and admire the paintings at very rapid pace. And then I start looking at my phone and I see all this news coming up about Conic and my heart sank because I'd managed to avoid any like DeFi hacks or anything. And then there it was, like the Conic exploit was just playing out in real time. And I was sitting there like thinking, okay, there's no way I can get back home in time and possibly like get out. So I'm just going to sit and look at some paintings and hope everything goes okay. What about you all? Like where were you at in the weeks or days leading up to the Conic hack, Like what happened for all of you?
Wasn't that also right around the big curve hack as well? Because I
Curve?
felt like they were.
That was like a week.
It was a few
Yeah.
That was like a
days before.
Yeah, it's like a week or two later because in my opinion, like I don't know if this is true or not, but like my hunch is that people started to have this idea that there was like maybe something going on with reentrancy stuff, which was what affected the Conic problem. And I think they started like probing into Curve and maybe found some exploits. So I feel like the Conic hack like inspired the hackers to like probe into Viper reentrancy issues. But
well, yeah, that because I remember the big hope around the time, because I was only a fan at the time. I wasn't an ambassador helping out, but Curve was making a lot of progress on getting funds returned. And so they were kind of hoping, I remember the vibe was that hopefully it's the same type of entity and that there was going to be progress on that end, but unfortunately not.
Yeah, that was very unfortunate. I was in France as well, actually, CurveCap, touching grass with the family, trying to disconnect. And well, I stayed very much connected because of that. And then the hack happened. And a few days after, Mitch expressed support in Conic and committed funding to support Conic. So that was sort of the, okay, we maybe we are saved. Maybe something beautiful is going to happen. And then I think today, or even the same day after the announcement of Mitch support for Conic, boom, Curve was hacked. And that was really like a roller coaster of emotions. Pretty tough times.
yeah, it was really, really rough. Rough couple of months. But yeah, what's nice is that yeah, we're all still here. Like we could have just kind of tucked our tails, put on our suits, and gotten a job at TradFi or something. But from the Conic side, like Conic decided to put nose to the grindstone and decide to rebuild, right?
Exactly, they never left. I think one of the things that was very important was that the hack did not damage the concept of the Omni pools themselves. It was configuration mistakes, but the concept of the Omni pools was still good and strong. And the team immediately committed to not going anywhere, to do everything they could to come back stronger, safer, and with a plan also for the people who were affected. So it's well, for all projects that have been hacked, it's a long process. It's a slow process. You have to rebuild trust. You have to rebuild the whole protocol. But they took it very seriously. And from an audit perspective, they took the best audit, I think, best audit firms that are available on the market, with Mixbyte and Chain Security, and slowly but surely they rebuilt this from scratch with really a focus on security. And about 3 months, Conic V2 came live.
Yeah, and we've been so far pretty good. Everything's been strong security-wise as far as we know, but constant auditing. In fact, a lot of the upgrades they're talking about now, they want to make sure audits happen. So security focus, I think, has been the priority more than anything else, which is, I think, the best.
Absolutely. Now, the security and the audits and everything, that I'm sure was a very slow process because the actual like bug was like pretty minor. Like it's like I took a look at the code. It was like, handling raw ether is always dangerous, and there's like a very like small like little slip up with that. So it probably would have been the easiest thing in the world just to like correct that and relaunch within a week. But it took a long time, months, right?
It took a few months.
Yeah.
they didn't just solve well, of course, they didn't just focus on solving the configuration mistake that had been identified and that led to the hack, but they improved the protocol. There was a lot of changes and there was a lot of new features added in the V2. And now there is even more new features that are about to come with Conic V2.1.
Yeah, and let's dive into those separately. Let's start with the upgrades that happened between V1 and V2. Then we'll dive into V2 to V2.1, and then after that we'll touch on the comment from Mad Mr. Symbol or Mrs. Symbol in the comments asking about comparing Conic with other Omni pools like those from Tsunami. So just for starters, V1 to V2, what were some of the big upgrades that Conic added between V1 and V2?
Well, I was going to say the potential of a fee share was a big one, and then the ability to add the labs outside of just Curve, because the focus at the time was wanting to bring in Prisma, because Prisma didn't really exist back when Conic first came out.
Correct. So there is this novelty approach where you can, thanks for sharing the New Hope visual, that will make Conic able to be built on top of more systems than just the Curve plus convex pools that we have at the moment. Another thing was bonding. Well, you're showing it. So it also introduced the new bonding mechanics for Conic that allows people to buy discounted Conic with their CNC CRV USD. And the platform fees were also turned on. For the first year, for the first 12 months, the platform fees are exclusively used to compensate the victims of the hack. So it goes to a pool that will be used to compensate the victims. And then at the end of the first 12 months, there will be a vote to define how the fees are going to be split. So those were really the main feature added with Conic V2.
Well, the also big one was vote delegation, because that allows a little bit more of a flywheel effect for Omni pools, and that was something that was lacking in the beginning.
Absolutely.
And could we touch on the reimbursement while we're on the subject? So was this sufficient to reimburse users that were affected by the hack?
Sorry, I didn't get that. Can you repeat?
Oh, so you mentioned that a lot of these funds were earmarked towards reimbursement for users that had been affected by the hack. Like, what's the status of that? Do you know? Do you know if the users who were affected by the hack, were fully compensated, or
No?
Partially?
No, unfortunately, the restart is slow. It's I'm sure we will talk about it later. We have to rebuild trust. The TVL at the moment of the hack was about $156 million. I don't remember the exact numbers that were hacked, but to be able to really accelerate the filling of the pool for the victims of the hack, TVL will need to increase. We need to keep growing. At the moment, I have no idea what the numbers are, but I think we're still pretty far from a full compensation.
Okay. But the intent is to compensate, or is it that was the one attempt to compensate people, it failed, so that's it?
No, the goal is to fully compensate.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe everyone was given a token that represents how much you lost, and then that will be redeemable.
And that's for both users of the ETH Omni pool, which I think suffered the worst hack. I think that was like 50% drawdown, as well as users in the Curve USD pool, which is like a maybe 2% depeg before it got caught.
Correct. Yeah, it's both. It was everybody that lost money in the hack.
Got it. Okay. So yeah, best intentions to repay, still working at it, but not making it live just yet. So V2 launched, and I had that DeFi Llama chart up earlier, and I think there's like a lot of hype and fanfare about that relaunch. But then it's sort of like it didn't quite go as everyone was hoping, right? Like very quickly, you can see in the chart there, like jumped like very briefly to like 30 million. And then since then, it's kind of like dwindled. I'm curious to hear your take. Oh, go ahead.
Well, yeah, it's actually a really interesting one because you can see that first bump to 38 goes down to about 15 million. That was one guy, one user. He was in the pools. I was watching him on chain. And again, Ethereum starts pumping heavily. So he pulls him out and he made 1 Ethereum in profit. And then he went straight cashed out to a centralized exchange. So we've had a lot of whales, or a lot of these big decreases, because that was the one big, everyone's so cautious of another hack. And so you see this big TVL drop in half. Everyone's like, oh, did another one happen? No, just one guy.
Justin Sun, by chance?
Oh, God, I don't even know. So the difference is also, like you were talking about earlier, is in the peak phase of Conic, there was not really anywhere to use Curve USD. And now there are a lot more uses, a lot more places that are syncing, and kind of the whole meta right now has changed. People are chasing points, people are chasing, I think, higher risk appetite positions. And then, LRTs exist, which did not exist back then. So we're in a completely different environment where people are not as interested in just stablecoin yield, which, I mean, I'm very bullish towards stablecoin Fi, but that's also one of the things that is now being worked on, which can be worked on because of the upgrade, is an actual LRT Omni pool.
Yeah.
So it's a slow road, I think, personally, just because people are regaining their confidence. I mean, we truly have to re-earn the confidence, but again, this entire meta of where people are throwing money is just different now.
That completely maps with my take. Like, I think it's tough for people to remember, and I'll bring up the just the Bitcoin price chart to kind of show where the market is and where it was. Like, when Conic launched was kind of in the middle of those doldrums where Bitcoin was kind of like languishing around like the 20 to 30K range. Maybe it was a bit above it, but like no one was bullish, right? Like this was it'd been a 2-year bear market. And Conic kind of launched in the middle of this with nothing around. So like stablecoin yield was great. When Conic relaunched, it was January, like Bitcoin was roaring. Everyone was becoming extreme degen, hyper leveraging Bitcoin all the way up to like as much as they possibly could. And like it just wasn't, it didn't seem like it was the same market for Conic when it relaunched. It kind of relaunched in a completely different era. At least that's my take.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. And I think Conic is a fantastic set and forget tool. You put your assets there and they will be working, and you have a DAO that is making sure that you're getting the best yield out of what's available in those pools. At the moment, no one wants to forget. Everybody wants to have their assets very available, moving here and there. And so it's a very different phase. And it's okay. It might take more time. The team does not complain about this also because it gives time to make sure that everything is working exactly as intended. It's been working exactly as intended for 3 months now. I think in the Discord there were also many people pointing out the costs. Conic is
gas
on
costs, right?
Mainnet. Gas cost, yes. Conic is on mainnet. It's expensive to use. Everything has been expensive to use, but we can see that right now the gas cost is pretty low, and I don't think that was really the issue. It is an issue. We fully understand that. Even for me, it's for everybody, it's very painful to do those transactions. But that's not the main reason. I think what you were pointing out together before, it's really what is in the way at the moment.
I completely agree with that. Like, I definitely see the complaints about gas costs, and it hurts for me because I like to pretend I'm a whale, but I'm really poor in actuality. So it's like whenever I'd like to like put money in Conic, but I was also like scared off initially by the gas prices because back then it was like gas was like at 100. But what I've seen in DeFi is that most of DeFi is driven by whales, right? Like, and whales don't care about gas. Like when Mitch was launching Curve USD contracts or Llama Lend, I forget what it was, gas was like around 100. And he was just like, launch. Oh, it didn't work. Let's launch again. It was costing him probably like $50,000 just to like deploy these contracts to mainnet. And that's like a drop in the bucket for him. Like whales do not care about gas is the behavior we've seen time and time again in DeFi. So like I feel the gas cost issue, but if you, and I was even like talking with some of the Conic team about like how they could gas optimize their contracts. And they basically said the same. They're like, yes, we're aware of gas. Like we'd like to have some solutions, but there's not really ever been a situation that they've seen where like reducing gas costs to allow more poor people to be able to like take the bus is superior to like the private plane experience of like paying the full gas price.
And they are working on solutions, not directly reducing the gas of depositing, but just another way to get exposure. So V2.1 will bring some solutions.
Yeah, it's like the perfect like transition because they're not going to solve it by reducing gas costs. They're going to solve it by building features that pertain to this market, right? Like the current state of things. Let's talk about V2.1. Like what is that and what's it trying to accomplish?
So who go first? You want to take you want to take that for?
Well, yeah, sure.
Yes.
Well, so
go first. I'll follow.
Well, one of the things is, it's been the most requested feature, I think, since relaunch, but a LRT or LST, excuse me. We're launching Lido's WST ETF. There's too many of them. But it's because that's been the narrative for quite a while, and people want to have the set and forget optimized yield, but still earn a lot of this. So those have been the push.
Yeah, exactly. The LRT Omnipool is one of the big things that is coming, and that will enable LPs to farm yields plus points, and that's an exciting update for everybody. I think we all know how hot the LRT market is. As long as we don't talk about pie charts, we're okay.
Yeah, it makes sense. So, is this? Go, please.
Well, I was just gonna say is like, I mean, I kind of personally, I feel like the points narrative is about to end because you now have projects ending them, releasing their stuff. They cannot keep delaying like Swell. So they're now finally releasing these products. And so I think you're going to see a lot of the speculators move on to a new narrative, but LRTs are here to stay for sure. And so now you're going to get more, I want to say, realistic yields. And that's where an Omni pool will thrive.
About liquidity also, and Conic is a tool for that. Protocol to direct liquidity where they, and we've seen it very recently that there is a need for deeper liquidity in many of those assets.
Yeah.
Well, another exciting, I don't know if we want to move on, but another exciting novelty introduced by the V2.1 is the for now they call it the ETH Omnipool. So basically an Omnipool with the underlying pools being anything that has exposure to ETH and something else. So it could be CRV ETH pool, CVX ETH pool, Wi-Fi ETH pool, or CNC ETH pool. So you deposit ETH and you get exposure to this basket of assets. It's very interesting, very exciting. We don't know much about it. I wish I could tell you more, but just that this is really something innovative.
Okay, well, actually, so I just had the moment. We were discussing right before chat that because again, we're not the team. We are just ambassadors. They share tidbits of alpha, and we get to theorize all day. But one of the other parts of that, and I think this is how I understand it now more, is they're creating liquid Omnipool tokens, which are going to be ERC20 tokens that give you the exposure to the yield, which will probably come from this ETH X Omni pools, but this is a gas, we were talking about earlier, a gas optimized method for people that are not whales. They can buy these tools, get the exposure. But what's neat about it is you get to pick what you want to be paid in. So you can earn Conic, you can earn Curve, whatever they decide, Ethereum, Convex. And so I think that plays more with this new open-ended Omni pool.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. There was a question earlier that I'd like to go ahead and get back to, which was about other Omni pools, because at the same time as Conic hit its whole trajectory, Tsunami was also like an Omni pool protocol. Also, like got very tragically hacked. It was just like really the hits keep coming for all these things built around the Curve ecosystem. Tsunami also, like, instead of like obviously you're not ambassadors for Tsunami, but Tsunami also like went back to the drawing board, kept building, relaunched, and they are also coming live again right now. So how would you compare and contrast Conic with Tsunami in terms of like where you're at and where you think you're going?
Well, because I didn't really know them until they actually offered the Llama round, or the Llama aired, whatever. But people are trying to say that, oh, they're competition. I personally don't agree that they're competition, because it seems, as far as I can understand, they are creating a stable coin or really an Ethereum stablecoin using Omni pools. So similar to what we were just talking about with these new lot Omni pool tokens, but a dedicated stablecoin. And I know Conic has flirted with this idea, and we've talked about it, but beyond that, I don't really see them as competition.
I agree. I was a user of Tsunami a long time ago, actually, at the beginning of the protocol, because I was looking for omnipool solutions. But at the time, it was really not exactly the concept of omnipools that I was looking for. Conic was really developing exactly what I was looking for. Basically, I was trying to deposit my assets in Curve and Convex, and Conic focused on that. Now, I can't talk anymore about Tsunami in details because I have not been following their architecture, so I can't judge. But one thing I want to say is the concept of omnipools, and that's DeFi Advisor was mentioning that in several streams, people were scared about it. There was a worry that this was not necessarily working. With Conic demonstrated that it's working. And it's actually good, I think, to see other protocol building on this idea. So first, I think that it's a synergetic movement to see different version of something that at the beginning people were not believing would work. And now there are multiple projects who not only believe it works, but are building similar or different version of it. So I think ultimately it's good. There is also Opal that is building something similar, but for Balancer and Aura. So I think it's exciting to see other versions, maybe different, and if we can learn from each other, that would be great. At the same time, I'm also realistic. It's not ideal to see liquidity fragmentation, and I prefer to see TVL going to Conic. But let's see how it goes. I think it's ultimately positive for the space.
So I'd like to drill in on something that you pointed out there, because before the hacks, which are kind of like these weird incidental events that can affect almost like any DeFi protocol, the concern about omnipools had not been like that they're going to get hacked, but that, for example, they would have liquidity dedicated to a pool that depegged, and that this could lead to significant LP losses. And that was like the kind of theory that both omnipools were testing, is like, is it actually the case that omnipools can be done in a way and that LPs won't suffer? So to be clear, like, you're saying that you believe that the Conic formula before that had proved that was the case, that LPs through omnipools could be done safely.
Oh, sure. And it's also one of those things that Conic specifically has very strict guidelines on what pools they bring in and what projects they bring in. Because I have actually helped projects talk to Conic to make their own Omni pool, and Conic wants at least 10 million TVL in a pool to be really worth it in gas and really for us to use them because of DPEGs. Because it'd be lovely to add all these new stable coins that are coming online, but they don't have the liquidity yet that would not make it just highly risky, if that makes sense.
And remember that the USDC DPEG of last year happened, I think, a month or like really just after the launch of Conic. So Conic launched its V1, USDC DPEG'd. That was a pretty good stress test, and it performed exactly as expected. So that was a first demonstration of the validity of the architecture, let's say.
Well,
Right.
and then one of the new features now is before 2.1, every liquidity adjustment vote, LAV, you had basically 5 votes every 2 weeks. And I'm a governance nerd. I love to vote, but that just gets exhausting. And so what they decided to do is actually concentrate that. But the side effect, and positive side effect of this is now votes have scarcity to them. So where you place your vote matters, because you still have the same amount of voting power, but now you're having all of those Omni pools at once. So the hope, and really my theory towards Omni pools in general, is it can create a whale-like effect of liquidity of a lot of smaller little players voting together of, here we are going to throw our whatever side of the token it is, so either Curve USD or USDC, towards a liquidity position, which then can help for projects potentially not necessarily vote incentives, but it becomes more capital efficient for them to come in and say, okay, hey, we know that there's X amount of liquidity on Conic. If we can get so many votes here, we can get so much more liquidity for ourselves. And it becomes this, in my idea, the Omni pool flywheel effect more than anything else.
Got it. So there's some good questions coming from Mad Sigma Symbol about stablecoin fragmentation across various chains. Is there sort of any thought towards incorporating layer 0 and wormhole and building cross-chain omnipools?
That's something that has been brought up by multiple community members. The team has never said no. I think I would answer that like that. There is an interest in going multi-chain when it makes sense. It goes back to where to focus the effort at this moment. And the effort is focused on what we were listing, V2.1. Liquidity on other chains is still not as deep as on mainnet, pretty far from it. And so that's not the focus at the moment. Now, that being said, I mean, personally, I would love to see Conic expanding to other chains, Arbitrum in particular, for example. Now, going multi-chain, yes, the technology that would be used could be a layer 0 wormhole. We are not the devs. We can't really say anything on this side.
Well, and again, we run into the problem where we have, again, the hard criteria of 10 million for a pool. And so you start running into that kind of problem looking at stable coins and layer 2s, even very solidly stable coins, where you might have a couple pools, but not necessarily enough for an Omni pool. So that was always a concern, even staying within just the Curve ecosystem abroad. So it's a blessing and a curse of that focus on security.
Is the intent to stay entirely within the Curve ecosystem? Because I'm a big Curve maxi. Hasn't worked out well for me though. Like a lot of the narrative is pushing to other sources of liquidity. Like, would there be thoughts of looking at like Uniswap for liquidity or some of these other dexes?
Well, again, we can't speak for the team, but we have the upgrade to 2.0 allows us to go beyond just Curve. I think Curve is the focus. I mean, obviously are all bullish on the ecosystem, but we now have the ability to expand where it makes sense.
Nothing to add. He said it all. That's what we feel is that there is an interest to go wider, but make sure that everything works first and reach a critical mass first before looking further. But I'm pretty sure our droids are also very bullish on Curve, as we all are.
Yeah, I'm curious a bit more about the kind of like Curve USD Omni pools direction you can go, because it seems to me that like, especially now with like Llama Land opening up, it seems like it'd be possible to like direct liquidity to supplying Curve USD to some of the like there's like really interesting opportunities for supplying Curve USD within some of these various like Llama Land markets. But then the kind of flip side of that would be like whenever you're supplying Curve USD to any of these markets, you put yourself at risk of bad debt within the pool. Like supplying is not a riskless behavior. Like how do you manage the risks there and consider like supplying Curve USD throughout like the Llama Land infrastructure?
Well, I had pitched and it's actually been brought up quite a bit, of Llama Land supplying Curve USD, because a lot of those positions have higher APY, again, risk appropriate, but they have higher APY than Conic is offering currently for its Curve USD. So people have been looking at that because that is right now, I think, one of the biggest sinks for Curve USD, period. All I can say is I know BB8 has talked to Mitch about it, and they've discussed it, but right now the focus is the 2.1 upgrades. Because again, like you said, it also gets into the point of like it's harder to unwind those positions. If someone has borrowed up all of your Curve USD, you need the ability to come in and out quicker. So it's a little bit more complex than what we have right now, but it's absolutely something that I personally want, and I know that they've been looking into as well.
And we know that they think it's a good idea. We have them on the record saying it's a good idea, and usually when they say something like that, they start they do things in the background. But we also know that the focus for now is to ship what has been committed, let's say.
Well, and also again, it's still a pretty small market relatively to what they usually look at. So we're constantly butting against of that vision of what they consider secure, and they do not want to compromise that, and I don't blame them for it. And I've had very good projects that I support and love approach them and not quite meeting that yet, and they're like, well, we're a few million short, and they will not compromise. So very, very bullish on that.
Micro Omni pools.
That sounds good.
Yes.
No, that's good stuff. Now, can you at all give us like any like guesses as to when V2.1 is going to come out? I know that you're not the devs, so it's just speculation. Are you talking about decades, days, minutes?
I think there's a lot being pushed in 2.1, so I would say that some of those features could probably launch very soon. I don't want to throw a number, but I know some of the ones specifically, like the new backed tokens backed by Omni pools, are going to need audits. So on the more technical side, I would say at least months.
We don't even know if some features are going to be shipped independently. The name 2.1 makes us assume that it's going to be all together. I really don't know.
So I didn't bring this up just because it was irrelevant, but just to prove that I have freedom of speech and can say whatever I want, I'll just go ahead and say these words. Arrow Velo, who we actually hosted for a very nice chat a few weeks ago, and I'm a big fan. And for disclosure, like investing in Velo, Arrow, Tsunami, CNC, Curve, like all these things. Like I just buy all these DeFi tokens that end up doing like performing like garbage. I could expand it to a question that like might make sense. Is there any plans to launch on base chain or Optimism?
As far as we know right now, no. They're focusing right now on expanding mainnet products. But I mean, I use both Velo and Arrow. I like both of them. I could see a place where it makes sense, but as of right now, the unofficial official statement is L2s later on as needed.
Yeah, I think it makes sense because, like, at least for Curve's sake, like Curve's only seen success on mainnet, really. Like it has all these launches on all these L2s. It just never contributed much to Curve's overall like TVL or trading volumes or anything. That being said, it's really fun to play with Llama Land on Arbitrum. So I hope Llama Land expands to these side chains very soon.
Same.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things of like, because that's the number one answer when people talk about going to L2s. It's like, well, as the products we have now, the TVLs don't make sense. It would be fantastic for, gas fees and for me to be able to use it, but a lot of those pools are even the blue chip tokens are not even close to what they should be. And so I think DeFi is, especially in my opinion, when the bull run actually starts or retail is here, I think mainnet will be miserable to use, and we are all kind of pushed to the L2s. So I think Curve is putting down the roots and the infrastructure. It's just the money's not there yet.
Okay, so you don't think the bull run has started yet? What's the phenomenon we've seen over the past few months? Like, how would
Me
you characterize
personally,
it?
I would say it's different. So to me, it feels like what is left of retail are jumping into meme coin mania or ordinals or runes, or points, the four main things. But you're seeing, in my opinion, an uptick in banks, hedge funds, all sorts of VCs showing up, and they are building the settlement layers or their own stable coins. They are building the infrastructure, in my opinion, for the retail market when it shows up. But no, I mean, you could hop on almost any Discord right now and talk to a dev. And in a bull market, they don't have the time. You don't even see them anymore. You're just a wall of people just chattering. And so no, I think we're in the ETF stage of the big money institutions are pushing prices, but we're not in the mania stage where your grandmother just randomly bought Dogecoin and didn't tell you, and it's like, oh, hey, when is this pump? So I don't think we're there yet.
So you don't see the meme coin phenomenon as like the expression of retail being here?
I think meme coin is the like last refuge of the previous cycle's retail. And I mean, because like I started personally on Phantom. So I was on the obscure chains because I was like, I don't want to pay $10 for gas fees back when it was cheap. And so I would go into Phantom and I did all these, wild and wacky days back when that was a living chain. But it was like even then there was a new product constantly launched. And yeah, we're in that stage. There's still a lot of things being launched constantly, but it just, I don't know, it feels different to me. And maybe I'm wrong and we're about to go in a multi-year bear, but I don't know. I personally, I don't think we've hit mania stage yet, or really retail is here.
Yeah. But just so you know, Phantom's back. I don't know if you noticed, but Phantom relaunched. Andre Cronier's back. He's posting again.
Again.
And there's even some like pretty interesting stuff being done by Awa. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly on Phantom in terms of like cross-chain omni pools. I guess you could call it cross-chain omni pools. It's not quite that. It's more cross-chain liquidity hubs.
Yeah, and I mean, again, like these are being built, but I don't know. I just feel that. I mean, look at crypto Twitter. The only activity now is either clout chasing or they're fighting each other, and it doesn't make sense. Whereas when it was just we're the constant barrage of threaders of like going on, you have the people that are like, oh, this meme coin will make me $1 million in 2 weeks. Like you have those posts still, but it's the noise is still a lot lower than previous bull markets. I guess I should say.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's like the weirdest phase. I've never quite seen anything like it. It's like Schrodinger's like partially bullish, partially still bearish. Bitcoin's running. Ethereum's running a bit, but not quite as much. All of our favorite DeFi tokens are like down in the dumps. The mood's not there. and the
Yeah, well,
institutions are showing up. It's like I don't get what's going on.
well, that was the holy grail. Everyone talked in 2021 of like, oh no, institutions are coming, and you felt like you're crazy saying it. Like, what bank is coming to DeFi? And now they're launching their own stable coins. So I mean, again, the institutions are here now. That could also be the problem where they're going to create their own walled gardens. So again, your grandma is now investing in whatever ETF, doesn't realize she's touching DeFi at all. She doesn't even realize she has stable coins. Maybe that's what's going to happen, but I don't think so personally.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
just this past week that we saw
Stripe's back.
Stripe is back and they're using USDC. So like they're not even using walled gardens necessarily. Like this should honestly be like bullish for Curve because I guess it's possible that they're launching with Ethereum, Solana, and Polygon, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Which is actually a little confusing to me that they're not doing Base because USDC and Coinbase are like trying to push more USDC onto Base. But that aside, like the institutions are here, right? At the same time that like Gensler is on his Quixotic campaign to continue like muddying the waters about whether Ethereum's a security or not. Like it's just.
I think the other part of it is institutions love stablecoin Fi because it is relatively safe. They're looking at yields that they just do not get in traditional finance. I mean, at 8% is a good year to them. Like, oh my gosh, they can get safely 15, and that guy's whatever manager's pushing that is getting a raise. But the one that I think that flew under the radar was PayPal announced that remittances, where migrants that are taking money and then sending it home, have zero fees if you use PayPal's like their new Pay USD. That's huge. That's a $1 billion market in the US alone, and they're just killing it just so people use their stable coin. And I think that kind of stuff is fascinating, and it popped up nothing. Like it was in the mind's eye of crypto Twitter for I barely even saw it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm like used to short news cycles, but this is like these things are dropping and not even registering. And then the flip side of it is like, yesterday Gensler and Consensus had their whole like tete-a-tete back and forth, and that did nothing either. Like the market just doesn't even care about this. It's like,
yeah, no, I think I think we're all just numb to it. It's like, oh, another hack. Oh, the SEC's suing someone else. Like, okay, great. But that's what I'm saying is I think maybe part of that is like you were talking about earlier is retail is chasing the meme mania. That's where the attention economy is at the moment, is massive returns and points. But I think the real, and again, I'm very bullish on stablecoin Fi. I think the institutions are here to build their own infrastructure or use ours. And that's, if we can get the institutions to not waste time building their own, but use what's already here, I think we're in a very different world.
That's exactly what's important here, Robo, and that's where really I agree with you. For now, we have the institution coming and buying our bags. They can buy Bitcoin for the moment, and hopefully they will be able to buy some ETH soon. But we still don't see them really use the available infrastructure. PayPal is the first one, and it's a big one, and I can't understand why it's not much more of a big deal every time there is an information about PayPal using the infrastructure available. There was also what BlackRock is starting to put funds on chain. But I think that I become extremely bullish when I realize the infrastructure inversion of TradFi using blockchain and not just buying it for now. When this happens, this is when the crazy bull run starts. And we are really far from it. I think fortunately, because DeFi is not ready, we are very early. It's still not reliable enough, let's say. We are still building the little pieces of the fundamental Legos that will become what the TradFi can use. But I think ultimately we will go there. We will have to fight the SEC, the Gary, etc., etc. But when we get there, when there is this inversion, it's gonna be really exciting.
Well, yeah, no, and that's why I almost and this is my conspiracy theory, but I almost feel like the SEC is doing what it's doing intentionally to fail. Because it doesn't really make sense logically, and you have these massive, massive institutions already building their own stuff. So, I mean, I know the goal is to protect Americans and whatnot, but I just can't comprehend this institution constantly throwing at itself at lawsuits it's going to fail at, while the entire banking and financial sector in the US is building their own stuff. In fact, it was just, what is it, Agora? It's a Van Eck, one of the heirs of the Van Eck, launched their own stablecoin, and then Van Eck itself is going to be the custodian of it. I mean, they are here and they are building, and it's just this no ripple effect. So I think we're just in a very, very strange space. I think the other one that'll be big is when Circle does IPO, because suddenly you have a crypto only company that just prints money. They have very few employees. They are just doing fantastic revenue. And when they become a actual public stock to buy, I think we get into the interesting of, oh, hey, Ethereum isn't just the shadowy supercoders, and this is a real money market. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I really like the idea that you're bringing up conspiracy theories, because I think tinfoil hat time is like a fun time, and we should have more fun engaging with conspiracy theories. It didn't actually look like to me like that there is kind of any like multi-dimensional chess move at play here. I just see inside baseball in terms of like, Gensler trying to jockey for position within a potential new like administration if there's any shakeup. That was my take on it. But just kind of like back to this like question of like, what are the institutions coming and what's it going to be like when they get here? Do you think that if like we are preparing for like institutions to get here, that like maybe Conic Finance should like rebrand a bit, and instead of like being like Star Wars themed, should like like we've all seen like the classic TradFi sites that have like a stock image of a few people happily shaking hands and then like talking about, or like maybe like waves going out to sea, like
I think what's going to happen is you're going to get. We already have like decentralized front ends to help legally protect company or protocols. I think what you're going to start getting is decentralized institutional front ends. So you have your Star Wars theme for the degens, and then you have the exactly what you're describing, the everything is a stock image for whatever investor who is 80 years old, comes in and goes, this is what I want, and they have no idea that what they're buying underneath, and they're being exposed to hopefully Curve, hopefully Conic. They're being exposed to these tools, but they just see, I get put money in, I put fiat in and get yield.
it's
And
sort of
so
that's DeFi from the previous cycle, right? Like all the
that's big.
everything that collapsed was just basically taking money and putting it in Anchor.
Well, yeah, I mean, cool, because again, they're not really using. They are using DeFi, but they're using just like, we're going to put it all in Aave and collect 5% and then sell that back to the customer. And the average customer who's used to a savings account that pays them under 1%, they're thrilled. But I think if we can actually reach out to these institutions that are here and be like, just take a little bit step deeper into the pool of DeFi, there's a whole world of financial freedom. So I don't know, and maybe I'm just a utopian biased person, but I think we either get the walled garden, their own product, we get the white label, you're using BlackRock, but underneath you're actually using Frax, or they're going to come in and be degens, but we'll see.
So do you think we can get them onto Conic would be the question? Because I mean, obviously, like if like institution size money started getting dumped on Conic, these yields would dilute quite a bit. But you have 26% for USDC right now, 44% for Curve USD, 36% for ETH. Like that's pretty good.
I mean, absolutely. I think we just need to get Pims to do full-time biz dev and we'll have him talk to the institutions. This sounds like a great idea.
Does it though? But yeah, no, you're asking a very interesting question here. And apart from the copyright infringement issues of all the Conic marketing, I do believe that we are building fundamental pieces of the future financial system. And it's ultimately smart contracts. So then the property of it, yeah, we need another couple of hours to talk about this. But I still believe that, yes, institutions could at some point see the value of dumping their tokens in a Conic Omni pool. We just need to kickstart it. So we need a bit of time. We need one cycle, a couple of cycles to have TVL coming in. And money is going to talk. The branding is going to be a secondary issue. That's at least what I believe.
Yeah, well, I think a big problem right now is, again, speaking mostly in U.S. regulatory market, but you have all of these large funds or banks that are not allowed to buy or invest in crypto directly, but now can park it in these ETFs. I mean, what was the oldest bank just got realized, or they just got, not caught isn't the right word, but they had exposure to every Bitcoin ETF. So we still have this barrier to entry for a large amount of money, and the ETF side of things is a money sink, I think, of a large amount of the population, because you're not investing in scary Bitcoin, you're investing in BlackRock, and BlackRock doesn't fail. And so I think we need I think the Ethereum ETFs open the door. We're going to, hopefully, fingers crossed, they get approved. But we'll see kind of a similar, not mania isn't the right word, but newer all-time highs of just money parking and not using it. So I think in the next, I mean, I know it's a meme that we are here early, but we truly are here early. And I feel like the institutions are now dipping their toes in making stable coins. They're not really dipping their toes into, hey, what is a Omni pool? What is all of the new tools that are being created? So I feel like, yes, we could get them to start using, say, Conic, but they are probably years away from that conversation. And in fact, one of the other Omnipool protocols had their first kind of like issues butting heads with a VC, because VC was going to deposit a substantial amount of Ethereum day one. And then, I don't know, drama ensued and they ended up pulling out. And so that was like the first taste of a potential institution using it. So again, we are so fundamentally early to this new tools being created.
Yeah, interesting. I was trying to pull up the article because I know Leviathan reported on it, about the one that was using and putting their money into all the Bitcoin ETFs already, but couldn't find it in time. Let me bring it back briefly to another question about Conic that came up, which I feel like I can answer this one, but I'm curious to hear your takes on it. Like the question was, this before we went our tangent and all this stuff, was, how do you know the Conic devs are committed and won't bail out and move to shiny new stuff? And to me, it seems pretty obvious that if they wanted to bail, they probably would have bailed around the time of the hack, like going through the last 6 months. Has it been like 9 months? Where it's like sentiment's been, I'm sure, pretty rough, and the price has been in the gutter, and like there's been no good news coming in, and yet they're still building. Like, to me, that's the answer. But like, I'll just kind of open it up to your take. Like, what is your experience with the Conic devs? Like, what do you know about the Conic devs that gives you confidence that they're going to be sticking around?
Well, you started with exactly what I was going to say. If they wanted to leave, they could have left. It would have been much better for them to leave a while back. So if they stick around, it's because they want to ship something that matters. And if you talk to them, you will feel that it's there is a reality. We are working with anon devs, so there are risks. Everybody judge that differently. But just stick around in the Discord, talk to them, reach out to them, and you will see that they want to build something. They are not going anywhere. They didn't go anywhere, and I have really absolute confidence that this would not happen.
Well, yeah, and it's one of those things. Again, like you said, if they wanted to quit, they would have, excuse me, quit at the hack. They would not have wasted resources on audits. But I don't mind anonymous teams because to me, they have to build. Their reputation is the product that they deliver, because otherwise, they're not relying on their name. Because I'm looking at a Star Wars character, so they can't be like, oh, hey, it's me, BB-8. Like, no, I don't know what that means, but they have built this product and they are still building it. And so, like a lot of the comments are talking about, that does provide a hurdle for institutions, but I don't see BlackRock right now entering DeFi to this degree yet. But that's where what I was talking about earlier, like a decentralized institutional page could come up where you probably have to have someone that is doxed. And so, yes, that is a hurdle for institutional adoption, but for DeFi, I don't think so. I think they continue to build, and everything they have is their product right now.
And this is coming from 2 Llama profile pictures, so you can trust us.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, so to what extent do you think, there's a saying in DeFi, there's protocols that have been hacked and protocols that are about to be hacked. Like, to what extent do you think that, like, the hack, like, will, like, permanently, like, keep people from ever being willing to touch Conic Finance? And to what extent do you think, like, people would be eventually able to forgive it?
I would say I mean, yeah, that's still, people are sidelined because they're worried. Because and again, we've only been 3-4 months. I think it's been 8 weeks since the relaunch. So again, we're starting over. We're rebuilding that reputation. I think time heals that the longer it goes. But honestly, I would say the fact that the meta of DeFi is just so completely different from a year ago, that I think that's more of a hurdle than anything else.
You're mentioning kind of some of the V2 plans, and for Conic specifically involved building against Prisma Finance. So it's just like the rough blows keep coming, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your take on what's been going on with Prisma? Have you followed that lately?
I haven't kept up as much. A person I highly respect, Alice, I think wrote a great article on it. And I think it was a much needed article, because you were getting people that were criticizing the team on a sort of self-congratulatory way of like, haha, I knew they would fail. And versus Alice, who was just like, here's what I found in the audit. This is the math. This is the facts. So I think mistakes were made. I think mistakes are always like, this is DeFi. It's not like centralized finance doesn't have hacks, doesn't have the same risks, does not have massive amounts of opportunity to hack them. But I think it just is more at stake here because we are in this Wild West against nation states. But no, I do. Again, on very unfortunate timing for on the Conic side. But I don't think it. I personally don't think it's a death knell for Prisma. I think they have to do a lot of the same things. They have to rebuild their trust, and I think in the long term they're going to be fine.
How do you see this pertains to Conic? Like, some of Conic's plans, in terms of like building a top Prisma as this kind of additional layer? Do you think that like Conic's gonna like keep pushing forward with that and like hope it rebounds, or like move it to other, like, as you mentioned, yeah, that Conic is like becoming more agnostic as to where it can like source liquidity? Do you think it's gonna like push towards other like other things?
I hope so. And I think so, yes. But if we focus on the example of Prisma, yeah, it's unfortunate. Not pointing fingers, I think everything is available on crypto Twitter, so anyone can have their own opinion. I still believe that it's one of the strongest team in DeFi, and every good team will make mistake at some point. I do hope that Conic will also keep working with them. We just need time, and it's going back to we are very early. We are still building the future. So I think on a 10 years time horizon, all those things don't really matter.
I still would love a Prisma Omni pool, because it would be a separate, it's the same product, it's still an Omni pool, but it is a one step removed from what we already offer. So it is something different. And I think that's kind of, and they're looking at this, but it is a constant innovation and building so we can offer more and more tools. I think that's really the only way, innovate or die, basically.
One thing I want to add is what matters is the accountability that the team is taking. So that's where I listen and I pay attention to the words that are being used when a hack happens. And if you look at what happened during the Conic hack, the team was there, it was available, the postmortem was clear on where the responsibilities were. Nothing was hidden. Nothing is hidden now. If you go, you will find the postmortem available, none of the announcement, nothing has been hidden. So really, accountability, transparency, and time.
What are some of the other types of Omni pools you guys would like to see? I was kind of considering the back of my head, what if you could do a CRV Omni pool with the different wrappers, but they kind of depeg a little bit too much to maybe make that a reality. But is there kind of thoughts to other interesting Omni pools that you might be able to launch, even some that might meet the market more where it is?
Well, I mean, again, the LRT Omni pool is what everyone wants. So I think whoever gets a good dedicated one is going to be really, really happy. I mean, gosh, look at Pendle. What Pendle has accomplished by adopting the points narrative. So no, I think LRTs, good or bad, I think an Omni pool would do well there.
Does the situation with Easy ETH kind of change your calculus there?
I mean, again, I think all LRTs are very high risk. They're a much higher risk than I think most people realize on a technical aspect. So I think people are chasing points and yield without, again, they're aping in, they're degens. They're not looking at tech. I think once the points end, I think it's going to be a lot more realistic yields. And so we're going to be more the audience that would actually want to use an Omni pool. But no, I'm not going to speak to any specific LRT because I think they all have their pros and cons, and we could build Omni pools for all of them, in my opinion.
Points Omni pool.
That honestly, that would probably just print money, and I would hate every second of it, but it would work. Unfortunately, that's just where we are in the cycle.
It really is. Meme coin. Meme coin Omni pool, yeah, you can just go wild with it. And maybe it's one of those things where you don't care so much. People know if these kind of wackier ideas, they know that they're gonna be super risky. So it might be an interesting way to stress test the edge cases.
I've seen that experiment. It's in a product that both Pims and I enjoy, but it's another Llama backed supported product, but Burrito has launched where you can now use Burrito Ethereum, or it was Burrito USD, but you put in your stable and then you get from the yield meme coins. And so suddenly people are like, well, hey, I don't have to lose my exposure to Ethereum and I can farm these degenerate tokens. That's great. And it's working. And so I think there is a lot of room to experiment, and that's why I like DeFi. But who would have expected it's not just another liquid staking token? No, actually you can mine these random meme coins. So I think we honestly, you could keep building Omni pools and do a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, these narratives just keep shifting so rapidly, but any predictions as to what the next narrative is going to be? I know it's like impossible because you just like pick narratives out of a hat and have maybe better luck at guessing them.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like I'm laser focused now on stablecoin fi, and all of these, the big whales, the real whales, the hedge funds that are doing it. But I feel like it's going to be, because we've already done the DPen and we've already done AI, but I feel like there's going to be some sort of new take on real world asset stablecoin farming. I think that's, in my opinion, will probably be a new narrative, or it's just going to be NFTs again. It's one or the other.
Yeah, no, on my side, it's really restaking. And I'm very curious on how this will evolve when we start using all those new chains that will pop up building the security on top of the Ethereum network. And all these AVSs will just appear out of the blue, yield will go crazy. Things are going to break. That's what I'm excited to see. I'm scared and excited at the same time, and that's where my focus is. My attention is at the moment.
Yeah, I think these are good calls. I'm also have always just been consistently interested in stable coins for like the past several years since I've been focusing on DeFi, and it's like I feel like it's never like the most like glamorous narrative. Like it never there's never like the super stablecoin mania, but it always to me seems like the consistent like strongest use case for DeFi. And it seems like there's like a disproportionate amount of liquidity within stable coins relative to the like attention the narrative gets. And it's like where the most fascinating innovation keeps happening. So I feel like it's just gonna like keep chugging along and like really continue to gain more and more like interesting applications and like products and exposure. But who knows, right? Who knows?
Yeah. Well, there was the what I am so jealous of is the Europeans and Gnosis Pay card. I think that's a fantastic innovation that bridges DeFi and real world spending money. And you're now seeing people experiment with just that card and creating tools of like, well, maybe a savings account, maybe we can do this. And it's like that. Please come to America. Like, please. I want that so bad.
Yeah, I think the Stripe thing is like underappreciated in terms of its excitement.
I feel like Stripe, well, to me, it feels like Stripe is just coming back of like, oops, sorry, we messed up. And I feel like that's why it's not as exciting, because it's like, okay, yeah, we're back. It's like, are you going to leave again? What's the deal?
It's so different though, because last time I think they were accepting Bitcoin payments, and like that's just never worked. Like I've been following crypto for 10 years. No one has ever been interested in paying for it. I know because I bought something on Overstock, and it's just a reminder of how much I wish I had not paid for it with Bitcoin.
Yeah, I had a buddy send me some Bitcoin, and it was like, oh, I sent it. 15 minutes later, we're just kind of awkwardly looking at each other of like, all right, oh, nope, now it arrived.
I know, it's just ridiculous. And I mean honestly, like I'm still like I continue to be like most of my portfolios in Bitcoin just because it's what's always worked. I just don't know why it keeps working at this point. Like I don't know why it's like the biggest narrative and like why it's so successful. But I know I gather some interesting things are happening around the Bitcoin ecosystem, and they're like, I get that the potential is like they start to implement some of the better like innovations that we've got within the stuff. But every time I try and like look at Bitcoin DeFi, for example, it just looks so clunky and archaic compared to what we get to play with.
Stripe is more interesting, let's say. You know what I mean? What was when were Stripe actually involved in crypto, and like how big were they? Like because I didn't even know that. I thought they were just like a regular payments company or something.
It was early. It was 2014.
It was massive at the time. I mean, adoption of crypto at all was low back then.
2014 to 2018, they were trying it. Wow. And it just never got any traction because no one is interested in paying with Bitcoin.
Yeah, Bitcoin is just not the right move for it. You should have like stablecoins or ETH, something like that.
Well, I think again, I like Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin needs to stay in its lane. I think it is a fantastic collateral. I think you can use Bitcoin and DeFi as collateral, and that opens up a whole lot of stuff. But I don't know. Just using Bitcoin natively is slow and clunky. I can't imagine trying to inject any sort of DeFi into it.
It is like its utility in terms of being so boring, and in terms of its ability to like actually like to some degree penetrate the legal structure of so many nation states, right? Like I do expect that like more nation states will adopt Bitcoin in the way El Salvador did, or even other ways this upcoming cycle or two. And I think that's going to become a little bit the use case for Bitcoin, and that like it does start to like build these bridges into like the traditional financial ecosystem, and then also like you say, it can like be used as collateral within DeFi, so kind of like sits between all these worlds. I don't know. I don't see another like. Yeah, go ahead, DeFi advisor.
I think that I agree with you. It's something, Bitcoin is like something that's considered valuable in a way that, and also like limited. So people just don't want to like use it for payment. Like they want to use it for other stuff. So payment systems based on Bitcoin. I don't know.
Well, it's also a
The reason like it's contradicting. Like the Bitcoin narrative contradicts it from being like a payment method.
Well, to me, I feel like we say it's a store of value against inflation, and in the U.S., not so much. Like people still use it to speculate, but in countries where they have outrageous inflation, it truly is. And I think it is a fantastic tool. I just don't think it's ready for DeFi, or should be. I think that goes beyond it.
And also, you're right. This topic actually is very different in different places. Like, I don't know. For maybe people in El Salvador, they feel that like Bitcoin is actually great for payments. So I can't say that what I said now.
And it doesn't go against the fact that it's a store of value. It is a store of value. The same way that central bank owns gold, and gold is considered a store of value. Well, to me, Bitcoin is gold 2.0. You don't use gold to pay anything. It's just very impractical. Well, maybe Bitcoin is the equivalent. It's the evolution.
Yeah, I do kind of agree with that. It's like it's gold, but it has like these like a few characteristics of Ethereum, and that you can send it. You know, it takes 15 minutes, but it's still way better than transferring it like transferring gold, or even transferring like money through a bank account. Like, so it's like a step up from it. It's just I don't know. It's one of the reasons I got into like Ethereum is just because Bitcoin's so boring. Which is it again. I think it's the strongest advantage is that it's boring. It's not changing its supply and like doing all these like weird tokenomics like Ethereum is. It just, even though I've like lost money betting on Ethereum, flipping Bitcoin, like I've had way more fun, so I don't even care.
Yeah, same. I had a lot of fun also in the Curve ecosystem. Financially, it was not the best decision of my life, but
yeah, exactly, same thing. Like I have no qualms about focusing on Curve, just because it's been intellectually stimulating, and like I'm like close to all this innovation. Financially, like actually financially it's been decent because I've used it to farm stablecoins, and most of the like stablecoins have held value. It's just that like the yields, like I would have been smarter to have like sold off the Curve into more stablecoins as opposed to like continuing to hold Curve. But I like holding Curve, and like I still run up against not having enough Curve to like play with all the cool applications people build with it. Curve has more innovation and applications than Bitcoin in its 4 years than Bitcoin has.
Easily.
It has more innovation than a lot of industries. And we should clip that segment here, what you said here. That's like the Curve mindset, you know what I mean?
Well, no, I think, again, stablecoin Fi, the problem it has is it's dull. It doesn't have shiny narratives besides, oh, you can get better savings accounts. Oh, you can be your own loan. Like, you can be your own bank. Like, that's cool. But for a large amount of people, they're here to speculate. They're not here to, I want to like retire on 30% APY. No, I want to turn $100 into $1 million. And so they're going to be buying the risk appetite is much higher, but they're going to be chasing those types of things. And especially when you see crypto Twitter post of like, this kid bought 10 whatever coin and now it's $2 million. It's like, okay, like sure, but that is a different, that is the casino side of DeFi, and the boring Roth IRA 2.0 has use, and I think that's the more fascinating innovation being built.
The thing I'm surprised
Yeah,
no
and
one's built, and every time I say this, someone always corrects me in the comments and says that actually someone has built it. So I'm excited to see what comes out of this. How come no one's built on a way of like speculating on the TVL of a stable coin, or not TVL, the total supply? So like you can bet that like in the future, like I think that USDC is going to have X billion, and Curve USD is going to be at X million or whatever.
You've probably just created 3 new options protocols just now.
I hope so. That'd be a lot of fun.
Well, I mean, like people are now betting on or Blobsphere, the blob spaces.
Of course.
So no, there's a market. Everything's a commodity now. There's a market for something.
But no one's built this for stablecoins. That doesn't make sense to me because people have such strong opinions, but you can't bet on it. It's like, oh, I'm super bullish on PYUSD. I'm going to buy a bunch of PYUSD. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah, maybe we can get a betting Omni pool. That's the key. That's the key.
Oh, that would be fun.
We will call it ZK Casino.
Oh man, VCs are going to be throwing money at you, throwing stablecoins at you.
Yeah. But I think that's part of the point, because right now the way things are structured, like the community is more oriented about speculation and all that kind of stuff. But as we hopefully reach a broader audience, I think that people will like this kind of boring stuff of like a savings account, or like for people when they actually comprehend what we know, that like how much money can they yield. It's life-changing for the normal person in a way.
No, I mean, absolutely. And it's one of those things. It's like, it's very, on one hand, it's very obvious, like, hey, you want to speculate. You have opportunities for return on investment that are so much higher than basically a lifetime in traditional finance. But it's also one of those things of like, well, that's not all that's being offered. There are now tools being created that almost replace a lot of traditional finance. I think that's great. And so and I think, going back to my earlier thesis, I think that's why you're now starting to see hedge funds dipping in, but they're not really advertising. They're being very quiet because they want to be established before they start marketing it to retail. So.
Yeah. Have you talked to any like people who like just work in traditional finance in the past few years? It's so like, it's like eerie almost, because they're still kind of like talking about like, Roth IRAs and all this, like it's still like 2012. And I'm just kind of like, you don't see the writing on the wall. Like this is coming very fast. And a lot of people are going to like, I don't think they necessarily lose their jobs, but I think that like the whole industry is going to transform like so remarkably.
Well, I mean, I had a friend not even that long ago, like within the year, talking about buying CDs again. And I'm like, what is this, 1980? Like, wait, what's happened? And so I don't even think, again, we're so early, but average retail has no idea what DeFi is, no idea what's being built here.
No,
all they see is Dogecoin, Bitcoin, and Ethereum.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah, that's the other thing we haven't seen so far this cycle is like, I remember like one of the red flags almost of the last cycle was all the YC startups that were like basically taking Terra Luna's 20% APYs on stable coins, and giving like user at the time, I think they're just giving users like 1% and taking the 19% for themselves, or some variation on that, because back then bank rates were 0. Even then though, like now you could like probably get like there's probably like a spread opportunity that some people can try and market as, create Doquan 2.0.
I am 100% confident there are new, not even VC firms, but just funds that use DeFi and the client has no idea. I would bet a lot of money on that, and their target is qualified investors or other VCs or other hedge funds, I should say. I guarantee that those exist, and we just don't even realize. But they need to deposit on on Conic, and then everything will be okay.
Yeah, it's pretty wild because YC, who's like never been the biggest like fan of crypto stuff, like they came out and said like stablecoins is one of the narratives they're looking at. Like it seems to me like stablecoins, like one of the reasons I'm super bullish on stablecoins is that like, you know, America has like obviously been like super hostile towards like crypto, but America only benefits from stablecoin dominance. Like the more that DeFi is denominated in USDC or like USD, the better that is for America. So it's like only a matter of time before like some people in the government kind of realize the strategic value to the United States and keep pushing stablecoin fi and like stablecoin survive.
I think they can't officially come out and say like we support the whatever, because that hurts the petrodollar, that hurts the dollar trade. But I think that's where we are at currently, of why it is completely fine for BlackRock to create their own stablecoin, for VanEck to create their own stablecoin. They will have soft approval, but not. I don't think we'll ever get a hard yes or no.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like they have selective enforcement, right? They can crack down on the ones they don't like and ignore the ones they like, and I think that's what it's going to look like for a little bit.
Yeah, no, I mean, when even talking about PayPal and its remittances, that's still dollar stablecoins going abroad. So it's keeping everything's always unfortunately stuck into the dollar. And so no, I think that's why they're not targeting with their selective enforcement. I think they're going after like MetaMask of all people, and not, hey, this hedge fund is now printing its own currency.
Also, you know, like I don't know. I think it's like Curvecap framed the question. Like, is there any like other scenario, other like, how can anything different than US like USD based stablecoins be good for the US? Like, it seems like an obvious interest. But I don't know what I'm not understanding, you know.
Well, that's always the fear. I mean, fear. I don't even think it's real, but you constantly see in crypto news and the mix. But the BRICS are going to release their own like central bank digital currency. BRICS any day now. They're about to release their own new dollar, and it's like I don't think so. Like you read the actual like heads of the countries, and they're like, we're not trying to create our own currency. I think any nation state creating its own stablecoin will be met with massive hostility from the U.S., which is again this weird selective, like it's fine for a dollar-backed one to exist because that's not crossing the line.
Yeah, because that's the whole point. Like it justifies the system. Like the more dollars into the system, and again, I'm no financial expert, but I don't know if the whole system is measured by dollars and made of dollars, but then it's probably good for the dollar. Someone is going to want their dollars back. That's what I'm saying. If you owe someone money in dollars, they're usually going to want you to pay them in dollars, and you won't be able to like pay them on another scenario. So when you have a lot of when the system has so much debt that is based in dollars, you're always going to want more dollars, right?
Oh, absolutely. And you see currencies that are debasing themselves to make sure that they have easier exports against the dollar. Like I don't see them suddenly creating their own stable coin to compete with us, like the US. And so yeah, no, I think stable coins are interesting. I don't personally think, I think it's going to keep the dollar hegemony. I would love to see other denominations personally, but I see it being massively hostile or being treated as hostile.
Yeah. Oof, we're coming up an hour and a half. Should probably let you all go soon and enjoy your Friday. While I have you all here, like, so I'm guessing you're both Star Wars fans. If you're like fans of the Conic ecosystem, I haven't watched a Star Wars anything in a long time. Is there any that are good that I should watch?
I've liked the new Mandalorian, and of course I can't even think of the name. It's the one where Andor. I like Andor.
Andor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Andor, I recommend Andor. The Mandalorian is fun, but it's not the same level. Andor is more worked, more, yeah, try it.
They're both
Okay.
fun because they exist in the universe, and it's not just another story about a Jedi doing Jedi things. Like they are good. It got rid of my Star Wars fatigue. So I do recommend both.
And what I recommend is buying Lego Star Wars and just building Legos. That's my meditation.
Also, yes.
Got it. Pims, based on your profile picture, you look more like a Batman fan than a Star Wars fan. Let me see if I can get your picture here.
Yeah, well, it was an auction. You try to buy what you can, and I got the Bat Llama. I really liked the Bat Llama, and the convex logo in the background means a lot to me.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Yeah, we haven't got to talk about convex like at all here. Like, what's your take on convex?
I mean, I'm
that's
bullish.
Yeah, I'm bullish.
Yeah.
That's a protocol that I've used for years now. That's also that's the
Maybe I should-
future.
Maybe I
For
should refine
Llama's
the
talking,
question.
they're going to be bullish about convex.
Well,
Yeah, I should refine the
What
question
did
a
you
little bit.
expect?
Like, yeah.
Well, you have. I mean, there's still protocols that are innovating on convex. So you have Current Convergence building their new staked convex. You have, and I personally use Paladin heavily. Their Warlord product is fantastic, even if it kind of decreases my exposure to just pure convex. So no, I'm very bullish, but again, Curve ecosystem is not here yet. It's got a couple more months before the mania shifts.
Yeah. I guess I should have refined the question to say like what direction do you think convex is going into if you had to speculate in the next few months? What are the biggest opportunities for them?
I mean, I would say just more partnerships. There's been rumors of who the next group they're going to create liquid lockers for. And so if I was to take a guess, I don't actually know. This is just me guessing, but the Napier that's coming out, I feel like convex is going to go hard for them. So we'll see. I think they're doing great.
I'd agree with that one. I think that one would make a lot of sense. Of course, you don't need to establish. You don't need to give any disclaimers. This isn't ChatGPT. We already established that you're just an ambassador. You have diplomatic immunity for anything you say. Nothing on this is financial advice, ever will be, or anything like that.
But no, I just until someone makes stablecoin sexy again, I think all of our beloved tokens are going to be a little down, little sideways crab for another, hopefully, just a little bit of time.
But we will keep having fun.
Yeah. I honestly don't even mind the down markets because with curve down where it is, I haven't checked lately, but I think CVX CRV is yielding 45% or something in stablecoin yield, just because curve is becoming so massively profitable. So it's fine with me. If my curve just prints me a steady flow of USD, I'm pretty content.
Yeah, no, that's where I'm at too. It's if I can get the yields that I'm looking at now, and where no one cares about stablecoins but nerds, then in a year or two, I think we'll be okay.
Absolutely. And while I do believe the bull market has started, I still strongly believe that the future is bright for the Curve ecosystem. And when you look at the tokenomics of CVX and CRV and CNC, I don't like to speculate, but I'm bullish.
If you think the bull market started, let's go ahead and put you on record. Where do you think the price of Bitcoin's going in the not too distant future? Just use that the proxy for the broader ecosystem.
I'll start unloading. I don't like that question, but I will start unloading a bit at 100, a bit at 150, and probably a lot at 170.
Good answer.
Yeah, I personally think 100K end of year just seems. I mean, we're so close from that now, and we're not even in the mania phase, in my opinion. Next year is going to be the wild card if we like go to 100K and then dip it back down for like a fake out retractment. But I can only imagine so much higher.
Yeah, it's pretty much where I'm at. And I think eventually it's going to create upward gravity for Ethereum and all of crypto. Just, you know, a matter of time.
A matter, when you say a matter of time, like you mean like 15 minutes or something like that?
Good question. I'm here for the long run, right? Like very explicitly when I like was interested in Curve, like I was like, I'm not on this for a 1 or 2 year time horizon. Like I'm on this for decades, right? That's how I like am with most of these things in crypto. My time horizon's decades, because I'm planning to live forever to actually see it.
That's good. Well, Curve should work forever. Like they say, it's immutable, right?
Well, it should in theory, but I think a lot of the value in Curve is the fact that it's continuing to innovate as well, right? Like if Curve had just stuck with V1, you know, it'd still be working forever, but it would kind of just be like on life support. But I like seeing like what's the continued innovations that come out of the Curve ecosystem. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. If you want to learn more about that, subscribe to my newsletter at curve.substack.com.
Oh yeah.
We're coming up at an
honestly
hour and
the best newsletter in the world, probably.
Oh,
I don't know if you don't know it, but like yeah, if you're into Curve, you have to read it, honestly.
Yeah. We're coming up an hour and a half here. We've covered a lot of topics. Is there anything that you're just idly wanting to get off your chest, like these shower thoughts that you're like, oh, I should have mentioned that or plugged that or anything?
I got to talk about Stablecoin 5 for about an hour, so I'm sure the viewership has dropped heavily, but that's okay.
I'm not so sure.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. Thanks for having me on my first Llama Party.
Oh, you should hopefully not the last. Hopefully not the last for either of you.
Course,
I hope you
of course
come back anytime you like. I think I sent because I sent Pims the link for we send to guests. I'll send that to you also.
Okay, sweet.
So we make sure that you like get into the like Leviathan channels and like get registered for the squid drop, of course.
That's what I was gonna say. The real secret is I'm in it just for the squids. That's the only reason I'm here tonight.
Exactly.
That one's definitely a lot of fun. We're having a lot of fun building that out. I've been a little underwater trying to like upgrade some of the infrastructure, so I haven't gotten to put a little time into Squid lately. But yeah, Squid Drop is coming soon. We're coming up at the end of the month. As people know, we issue Squid as a reward token for users who help out around the ecosystem. So that's things like appearing on any of our live streams or helping launch new live streams. Users who are particularly contributing headlines, we have a certain amount earmarked. You can even get Squid for minting the show on, I forget the name of the site.
Pods.media.
Pods.media. So just a variety of tasks that help build out the ecosystem. You know, if you are not already, join our Telegram channel. We have Leviathan News, which is our main headlines channel. Follow us on X. Where should people find all of you, Pims and Robo?
Conic.finance and come in the Discord. That's really where you will
for sure
find us.
It's a wonderful Discord. I can attest to that.
No, our Discord is great.
The best Discords like feel like you're going to a party, only without having to talk to people in real life.
Yep. And we're also always looking in Conic for people that want to be delegates. So if you like to vote, we like to vote. Please come become a delegate. So there you go.
All right, everyone. Thank you very much. This has been another successful Llama Party. It's April 26th, and we will see you all next tide.